Alright guys, so this is the one that I've been waiting on. Since I've had a little time to truly spend with each device and build up, you know, an opinion of both and just real use of them, now I can finally do my full review and my full comparison. So with that being said, let's go ahead and I'm just going to dump out some specs just to get them out of the way so we can move on to how we actually interact with these devices and how they perform. So on the left, the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro, as far as thickness goes, is going to be 11.2 millimeters folded and 5.2 millimeters when unfolded, which is really thin actually. It's not the Magic V3 thin because that thing is crazy thin, or the Huawei. I think it's the Huawei Mate X3. I'm not sure of the name, but it's the Huawei foldable is crazy thin too, but it doesn't get as much attention as the Mate XT, which is that trifold device that they have now, and or the Honor V3. So, but anyway, um, the displays on here when open is going to be 8.03 inches, and when closed is going to be 6.53. And both displays are AMOLED and LTPO, and the cameras, we'll mention those just because they do have high megapixels, but I do want to talk about actual performance. So on the back, you have a 50 megapixel wide, 64 megapixel periscope telephoto, and a 50 megapixel ultra wide. That's a tri-lens setup, which is really nice. I'll say that up front, but like I said, we'll go into detail later. Um, the front cameras and inner camera are both 32 megapixels wide, and yeah, I'll touch on those later. I won't dig too deep. And what you'll see laying over here just to the side of the phone is what actually comes in the box. And that's where Vivo takes its first point for me, where is with the packaging. As you can see, this big black box up here. Giddy. But yeah, it comes with the case in the box, a USB-C to C cable, which I mean that's normal. The cable nowadays that's normal, and it comes with a 120-watt charging brick, which is crazy. I mean it's weird to say that a box or a phone that you spent almost $2,000, if not $2,000 on, comes with a charger. That should be a no-brainer. But hey, you will see once we get over here to the right. So with that being said, we're going to move over to the Pixel and talk about the specs real quick. Once again, just to get them out of the way. The Pixel folded is 5.1 millimeters. I mean, unfolded is 5.1 millimeters, which is just a zero point 0.1 millimeter advantage it has. And folded is going to be 10.5, which is really good. I mean, they like I said, they've come a long way with this device. Now, if you compare them side by side, the hardware designs make the Vivo feel just as thin as the Pixel, but it's not that big of a difference. So I wouldn't just freak out about that. This Pixel device though is 257 grams, and that's quite a bit heavier than the Vivo, and you could feel it in your hand. I mean, it's not just crazy different. It's not huge by any means, but you can feel it just a bit. Um, the inner display is LTPO OLED, which means once again it drops to 1 hertz and goes up to 120 just to help with that battery life. 2700 nits on the inner and outer displays of this device, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I did not mention peak brightness on the Vivo. Let me go back and see if I can cover that real quick. Because I think this thing has like a crazy brightness. Yeah, 4500 nits peak on this one. I have no device to test that, but that's what they reported. So just keep that in mind. Either way, you can see both of these devices clearly in direct sunlight, so that's not a concern. Um, this one though, the Pixel has 1800 nits peak brightness on the cover display, and 20 no 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 no. Let me take that back. 1800 nits and 2700 nits peak, and that's on both inner and outer. The outer display is only OLED, so it doesn't have that variable refresh rate like crazy where it goes to drops down to 1 hertz. It's just OLED. It's not LTPO. So let's keep that in mind. And let's see. It has that Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the, let's see, that's on the cover display. And I don't know if they have it on the inner display, but no, they won't have it on the inner display. The inner display is that soft folding glass, so yeah, they wouldn't. So that's fine. And the camera setup, the triple camera setup is 48 megapixel wide, 10.8 megapixel telephoto, and 10.5 megapixel ultra wide. And on the front display and inner is 10 megapixel wide, both. But there is a difference in capabilities of the inner and we'll talk about those in the comparison. So with those specs out of the way, let me go back one more time. The biggest difference is going to be battery size. I won't say battery life because that's another thing we'll touch on later on. But this one is 4650 milliamp hours, and this one is 5700 milliamp hours. And you would think, oh, that's over 1,000 milliamps. Yeah, I'll touch on that in a second. Yeah, but anyway, let's look at actual design. So when we go to these front displays, let's open both of these bad boys up. You'll see that on the Vivo, it's pretty much even all around. Even on the hinge side, it has a little more space over here, but just barely. And on the Pixel, you'll notice I actually have a dark wallpaper on here. Let's change that wallpaper to something brighter so we can see the bezels. Because I do want to talk about that a little bit. So yeah, there we go. Let's clear these notifications. Just got crazy stuff popping up. Anyway, so yes, here we go. So over here, you'll notice even thin bezels all around. But when you get over here to the Pixel device, it has these really thick bezels on the outer screen. And then it has like a ton of space over here on the left side. And it's just not that it's a deal breaker because the phone still feels good in the hand. And the screen itself looks like just a regular phone. But it looks like a regular phone inside of a thick case. And that's just weird to me. That's a weird design choice. But I won't take away because they did make a big step up from the first Pixel Fold. So I won't complain too much, but I did want to point that out that there is a noticeable difference when you have these two side by side. Most people won't. So it's not a deal breaker by any means. So we won't get into that. But continuing with the hardware of the devices, let's go ahead and look at these inner screens. I'm not going to try to open them with one hand because I have no case on these. But let me wipe these bad boys down so it gets some of these fingerprints off. And I want to talk about not only the inner displays, but this crease. And I won't spend too much time on it because once again, this is just another one of those things that you notice, but it won't ruin the experience for you, but you will notice it. So let's keep that on. Let's keep that on. So looking at those, you may notice that the pixel is dimmer right now, but that's just the auto brightness probably toning it down just a little bit. But anyway, the crease. The Vivo, you will barely even notice the crease on this device when you're swiping left and right. Even with all the times I've folded, opened and closed this phone, you'll barely notice that crease. Now let me turn it off so you can see it there. It's noticeable. You can see it by the eye when you hit certain light on it. But when you run your finger across it, and this is what I want to talk about with the Pixel. When you run your finger across it, left or right, up and down the spine, just right in the crease, you won't feel those lumps that I've had with the Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold. And I've this is my second one. If you haven't seen my other video, this is my second one. But what I will say is, you'll see that one. Let me see. I'm trying to explain this the best way I can. So you see the hinge. You'll see that it has like these, not indents, but lumps, like lumps over there, which is fairly normal, but they're stretched, and you barely notice it. But the hinge itself is even up and down. With the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, and it's just a minor gripe, so I won't get bent out of shape about it, but the hinge kind of goes, it's not just smooth up and down. And with this one, luckily, I've been fortunate with this one, but it has like these bumps, and they made me a little nervous to the point where it was really noticeable on the previous one that I had, not as nearly as bad on this one. But it scared me on the first one, so I sent it back, and I got into this long back and forth with support about the device itself. And once they received, they tried to say that it wasn't covered. It was something that I caused, but it was like that out of box. Well, not right out of box. It was actually like that once I opened and closed it a couple of times, and I don't know. But anyway, that was something I noticed about the hinge itself. But the hinge, while it is more noticeable than the Vivo, once again, not a deal breaker. You will notice it. It's folding glass, so nothing to get bent out of shape about. So moving past that, let's talk about the inner displays themselves. Both are beautiful, and even though the Vivo's bezels are thinner than the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, I won't say that it's an automatic win for it, simply because I do get unnoticed touches when I'm holding the device because the bezels are so thin. Which, I mean, it's not a complaint, but it's something to be aware of when you're holding this device. You will sometimes you'll be swiping on the device, and you're like, why is it not doing what I want it to do? And you'll realize that your palm is like touching the screen, so it's not acting right. It's not doing what you expect it to do. So you just have to be careful because the bezels are so thin. I will say I feel like Google got this right with this device, where it's just the right amount of thickness, but it's even all around. So this inner display is just really nice. No complaints. Even when I'm holding it, you can see my thumb is just sitting right there on that bezel, but it's not touching the screen. So the screen is doing exactly what you expect it to do. So no complaints there. And I'm going to be going through this as quickly as possible because I don't want to eat up a lot of your time, but I do want to cover valid points that I feel are valid. So we're going to turn around to this. You know what? Let's keep them open just because I like having these phones open. That's what you're buying for, right? So looking at these outer displays, not the outer displays, the back of the devices, it took the Vivo a moment to grow on me with this circular camera just sitting in the middle of the back of the device. Not even exactly in the middle, but slightly offset to the left. It took a minute for it to grow on me, but now it doesn't bother me at all. Now, I will say that initially, it's the same. Initially on the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, I didn't care for this camera bump, this camera setup that they went with this rounded rectangle square off to the upper left corner. I know that there are design requirements that may have made them make that decision, but I wasn't a fan of it, especially going from what I actually liked, that visor that kept it from rocking on the desk a lot. Now this one is pretty much the same. It doesn't rock on the desk, which is pretty cool, and the same goes for the Vivo. Not a lot of rock, unless you have it open laying on the desk. Then that's a different discussion. But yeah, that didn't bother me much. But what I'll do is, before I jump into software, let's talk about these cameras because I want to hit a few points. So, the Vivo, I won't waste a lot of time with that. The Vivo itself wins in the camera department for me because it's been the most consistent and most detailed. And that may be due to that large circular camera module. and the size of the cameras and the camera sensors themselves. But the Vivo has been more consistent in the camera department on the main camera. But the Pixel does put out great pictures. I mean, it has that Pixel look to them. And what I'll do is, I have taken a few photos with these devices with both, and I'll upload some. I don't know if I want to pop them up on the screen while I'm discussing the cameras, or or if I'll just do something towards the end of the video. I'll figure that out. But either way, both cameras look great. Um, it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for the, if you've been in the Pixel environment and you've used Pixel devices before, you're gonna have that poppy color that Pixels tend to put out with their processing on their devices, and it's a very consistent device, just not as consistent as the Vivo for me. So just keep that in mind. The macro photos, the macro photos. I'll I'll probably pop some up on the screen if I've taken some by now. I just don't do a lot of those type of photos. So if I if I show some, that's just for this review, this comparison. So let's jump over to these front cameras and inner cameras. So here is where the Pixel takes the cake, because these devices can shoot, these cameras can shoot in 4K. Let me see. Let me pop that up on the screen for you guys. So you can see it may be kind of small up there, but you can see that you can shoot in 4K on this one. And whereas the Vivo does not. Not only does it do only 1080p, it only does 1080p 30, which is insane to me. I don't understand that at all. That's a crazy decision to make, and I don't think that they did that because of hardware limitations. I just think that was a choice they made. I don't know if that could be fixed with software or whatnot, but yeah, that's a decision that they made. So let me get these back centered. So with that being said, while these are only 1080p um, on the Vivo, it once again, in lighting, in the right lighting, it does take great photos. Now I will say that it quickly loses clarity and it gets really grainy when there's not enough light. And both of these devices really suffer from that, but the processing on the Pixel does a better job with the output of the final result of the pictures. So yeah, I think the Pixel takes it in the front and inner camera, the output, but the Vivo takes it on the main camera. So just, not a deal breaker on either one. No camera phone truly. Well, I say that, in the Vivo X200 just came out, and I was just about to say that no phone camera truly does incredible jobs in dim light situations. So that's something I might just be complaining about, just to be complaining about. But I do want you guys to be aware of that. The main sensor, phenomenal on the Vivo, just crazy good. So it beats out the Pixel main sensor, but the processing and the popping of the colors and everything. Oh, and the warmth on these photos are not much warmer, but just warmer than the original Pixel Fold, and it adds a nice look to their photos. So, with that being said, let's move to the software itself. So, as far as software goes, and this is another thing I won't spend a ton of time on, just simply because both get the job done, but it's what they do that makes the difference. So, with the Vivo, I'll say this: with the Vivo, it works. It's smooth as butter, and it's pretty consistent. I haven't run into many bugs that's required me to restart the phone at all. Maybe once or twice where it maybe froze or app was acting weird or something like that. But with FunTouch OS, let me show you guys, just for those that are not familiar with Vivo devices. Let me see. Let me go. So you'll see I have FunTouch OS on here, which is the global version of this software for this phone, which the um The local version, the China version, comes with. I'm actually losing the name of it right now. Let me see. One second, because I want to get that up there for you guys. It comes with Origin OS. Yeah, I had to look that up. Origin OS. It's the native one, and from what I've seen from different people, is it compares to FunTouch OS is more. It's better. That's the consensus on it for the most part. But FunTouch OS gets the job done. And I could receive the comment on one of my videos saying that FunTouch OS hasn't changed in since I mean, like since 3 or 4 versions. So that's, I mean, to translate that into years, that's about 3 or 4 years where it hasn't had any major changes. So that's a big deal for some people. But anyway, speaking of what we have though, let's talk about what we actually have. So we're all familiar with Pixel and just Android overall and what you get with the Pixel. But what I will touch on is, let's see. Looks like I'm running out of memory on my memory card, so I may have to end this one. But let's see if I can bring up the Android version. So Android 15 is on here, and what I'll do is I'll come back after I clean my memory card a little bit. All right, guys? Just a moment. All right, had to get the memory card situation hashed out. So anyway, FunTouch OS versus native Android 15. So right out the gate, I'm going to give the point to Pixel simply because of the refinements that they've had over the years with the software and how far they've come. Whereas little things like you'll notice that as the screen turns off, let me wipe it just so you guys can see it clearly. As the screen turns off and turns on, it comes from wherever the phone unlocks. So I'm using a fingerprint sensor, the fingerprints. You see how it lights up from there and spreads out? And as I turn it off, it powers down to the button. Just little stuff like that just gives this an advantage. And just the overall smoothness of it is better. And things that you can, while FunTouch OS does give you a lot of personalization options where you can go in, you can set your own, your always on display. Where I think this one wins is it has color and things in this. Where it loses is the notifications. You can only have, I think, 3 or 4 notifications pop up at a time on the always on display. That's a weird limitation. I don't know why they decided that, but they did. But let's talk about let's do dynamic effects. And you'll see that you have a slew of things that you could choose. The home screen transition animation. Um, and you can look at comfortable, moderate, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. Home screen entering. When you unlock the phone, how it looks when it unlocks. You can have fly out by layer. Cool, nice touches. Where the native Android 15, the Pixel version wins, it just implements these things. Now, while it's nice to have options, you have to go in and turn all this stuff on. And the more you turn it on, the more power you consume on this device. Um, so it's nice to just have this stuff, these nice animations and smoothness of it just work. Um, let's see, and in dynamic effects, now I will give it credit because you have charging animations. You see, nice stuff like this. Just really, it's really cool. Now those animations, that's fine, but when I, someone liked my reply. Okay, cool. When you unlock the device itself, like let's say it powers on, it comes from the center, but it doesn't seem as smooth. And I know the camera won't capture that, but it just doesn't seem as smooth. Like they just popped in, like you know. And I know I could probably go into developer settings and change stuff like that, but it's nice to just have things work sometimes. Where it just works. Just that is so nice. So, but without digging into FunTouch OS too much, because I already have a video on that one, and I probably need to do another one. But that's something I'll look into. Um, there are nice touches here. Like I said, the options themselves, they are lovely to have, and you have themes where the theme impacts everything from the always on display to how you come out of the always on display to how you go into the phone. Once again, that's covered in that video. There are nice touches here, and it's nice to be able to go in and change those things, but it would be nice for the refinements to just be there out of the box instead of you having to go in and turn everything on and consuming more and more power. So with that being said, I want to talk about that the battery, the size of the batteries themselves, the 5700 milliamp and the 4680, I believe it was, milliamp hours. Um, while that seems like it would make a crazy difference, after you get through turning on everything on this phone and getting it the way that you want it, the battery life is pretty typical, which I was kind of sad about, and I think that's due to Fun Touch OS not being refined as much as Android 15 and the chip. Like it does have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 in it, and it does come with with that being the latest chipset for now at the moment. Um, it does have all the improvements as far as performance and battery life and usage and things like that. But Fun Touch OS itself doesn't seem to be quite as refined, and it eats at power quite a bit. Actually, I've noticed it more with when I upgraded to Fun Touch OS 15, Fun Touch 15. Um, but yeah, I will say that I really feel like Pixel takes it in this department just simply because of the refinements. Like things like while the camera itself on the main camera on the Vivo itself is great, the app is it feels cluttered and spread out. Whereas Pixel, while it is sort of limited, it does feel more refined and clean. I don't know why it took me out of the app, but yeah. So you have a ton of options on this phone in the camera department, but like I said, it just feels. And I don't know if that's coming from me being used to American, the device that we have access to in America, or if it's just that this camera software, the interact, the GUI, it just feels cluttered. I'm not sure which one that one is. But I will say that while it is cluttered, it does have a ton of options that you could change, that you could play with in here. So it's hard to give this to either one when it comes to the interface of the cameras and just how you interact with the cameras because you just have so many options on this one, but this one just feels more refined and clean. So it's hard to give it to either one. And I think as far as the comparison goes, I think that's it. So what I'll say is let's do this. What I'll say is while each device has its pros and cons. Oh, you know what? Before I wrap up, actually, what I wanted to mention is be careful paying attention to those battery, when people post their screen time since full charge and all that stuff. Be careful with that because on these devices, and I found it to be consistent across devices, as long as you don't charge the device to 100%, you can just continue using the device, and this time will continue to grow, and it'll make it look like so you'll see some people saying, "Hey, I get 9-10 hours screen on time on my device," and you have to be careful there because not saying that they're lying because they may actually be getting that, but some people are manipulating those numbers just for interactions on their posts or their videos. So be careful with that. But anyway, yeah, while both devices has their pros and cons, I will say that I tend to gravitate more towards the Vivo itself just simply because it's different and I like different and they really accommodate you with all the items and accessories that come in the box. Whereas I feel like we're getting cheated just a bit because while Pixel has improved on their devices, Google has improved on their Fold like a crazy amount from generation to generation with this device. This is just a second generation and it's incredible. I mean, it's great. But they just send you this USB-C cable in the box, and I don't get that. I don't know why these OEMs have decided to just give us less and continue to charge us more and more and more. I don't get that. I know there are things that are happening behind the scenes, but come on, give us something. But overall, performance is good on both devices. I will say that if you're in the USA, keep in mind that if you import the X Fold 3 Pro, you won't get a warranty. It won't be covered because it's imported from another country. So I have read online that you can get this device covered by your insurance company and just get some insurance warranty replacement on the device. I haven't really dug into that, but that is an option. But just keep that in mind when you import this device. You won't have any warranty on it, and it is a folding device. So there's just something to be aware of. But as I was saying, both devices perform great. What you just have to decide when you're grabbing one of these is what matters to you. Do you want all of your cameras to be able to record at 4K, or not? Or do you rarely even use the selfie or inner cameras, and you just want your main sensor to do the best job? Um, if it matters to you, this is the one for you because it does 4K on all cameras. Um, do you care about having just endless options of how to set up your device or turn settings on, animations on and off, and things like that? The Vivo will be for you. If you just want things to work out of the box and the animations to be clean and smooth out of the box, the Google is for you. Um, I won't mention battery life as a decision maker because they are very similar. Even with this one having the 5700 milliamp hour battery, they are similar. Um, So that just depends. Now, if getting updates promptly right away, if that matters to you, the Google is for you because you're going to get those updates every month within the first week of the month or not, if not the second. But those are going to come. I haven't figured out the update schedule for this device yet. Yeah, I have nothing for that. We do get updates. Like I said, I just got Fun Touch. Actually had Fun Touch OS 15 on this one way before we finally got Android 15 on this one. That being said, not a major difference. There were some performance improvements on that device, um, but I can't predict that schedule whatsoever. I don't know if we get them every month because I've only had the device a month or so, but yeah, I just don't know that schedule. But with the Google device, you will know the schedule and you will get the updates promptly. You if you're not the first, you'll be the second. So yeah. But with that being said, just make your decision based off of the information that's here and what's available, not what anybody's telling you to get or make a decision for you. Because at the end of the day, you're spending your money, so you need to make a decision that's best for your pockets and best for your interaction, your day-to-day life with these devices. So, with that being said, I appreciate you guys tuning in for this comparison, and feel free to like and subscribe and drop a comment down below.
Yeah,
And come back and hang out with me in the future. All right? Catch you
yeah,
guys later.
Artlist.io.
look, back and I'm better than ever. I think I got